We All right, we're back. Another episode. Head over to the website, johnbartoloshow.com. Go check out a complete list of the sponsors there. I want to thank a few of them now. Shout out to Sig's Hour. Go buy a Sig. They're not a chacho, but they're in your heart. Go buy one. Pulsar, thermal imaging technology is coming down in price. Go buy a thermal. I looked at some the other day. Those binoculars were fucking nuts that we looked at. You could see through people. It was crazy. I've never seen technology like that. Go check out Securit. I want to thank them for the walls. Rhino Metals, Pulsar. I already thanked Pulsar. Right On, Volquartsen, and Enforce Weapon Lights. I went to a party last night. Enforce hosted. It was very strange. That's a fucking show. That's a different show. We're going to talk about that show at some point.
He's stealing.
He stole our wood. He stole. I had to get some clearance though, but he wasn't on camera yet. You got to save the good. You ruined the good surprise. We were at a party. We'll get into it another time, but I can't get into it tonight. I need the okay from them that I can talk about it. But okay. Thank you to all the sponsors. Go check them out on the website. I got a special guest today. I always say she's like my sister from another mister. We met, we hit it off, we spent some time together. Since then, we've remained friends. I had an opportunity to meet the other half. There's a lot of good in this woman and this whole situation. We have the owner and front person for Alexo Athletica. I always struggle saying that. Do I say it right?
I was about to say you did such an amazing job because most people get tongue-tied, and you did not. You didn't.
We have the one and only Amy Robbins.
Hello, everybody.
What's going on?
Does my voice sound as buttery smooth?
Just keep it smooth.
As yours?
Keep it smooth. Don't blow
I feel like
it up.
I just had the need to change my voice and make it sound more buttery.
No, don't do that. Just be natural. Be natural. Act like you've been there before. So take me through real quick. Now, it's been a crazy year for you. It's been a crazy couple of years. There's a lot we're going to get into. But as far as the brand goes, take me through the brand when COVID hit and how you've dealt with that arc and everything in between, and give us an update on what's going on.
Well, so COVID hit. That was 2 years ago. Almost. No, about this time. Yes. And, so that was our third year in business. Third year is a very pivotal time in any small business's life.
Dangerous time.
Very dangerous time. And of course, COVID hit right at that time. So we really were a little nervous because for us, the biggest thing that happened was it shut down all of our manufacturing plants. And since we manufacture clothing, you have no manufacturing, you have no product, you may have no business. Yeah. But I will say, we have such an amazing clientele, an amazing audience, an amazing just group of, at that point, it was just women's clothing. And they rallied as soon as we got all of our product in. We actually ended up having an incredible year that we were so thankful for. And so, with 4 million new gun owners? Was it for the?
Well, we're never going to know the real number, right? Like, let me go to my stat guy.
I think last I heard was 11.
In 2020. I know there's some ridiculous
we're never going to
number.
know the real number. It's high.
It's high.
It's more than I can fit in my kitchen.
Well, so first-time gun owners, with 40% of them being women, that's a good market to be in when you sell concealed carry apparel for women. Sure. So thankfully, we just happened to be at the right place at the right time. We had a great year. Fast forward to 2021, we landed a deal with Springfield. So we actually...
How?
Funny you should ask, actually. Last time I had a conversation with you was SHOT Show 2019. Was that right?
You might have been right.
Yeah.
It was 2020.
Was it?
But it's January 2020. So
yeah. So it's a laggard. Yes. All right. We've been corrected as stat man.
Right. So 2020, and we were going through, you were asking me who's some of my favorite people, what they were doing with marketing and how they were changing the industry. And I was like, keep your eye on Springfield. I love Springfield. I love what they're doing. And someone over there must have heard the episode or something, because we got a call right afterwards and they said, hey, we got this great idea.
Well, no one admits, Amy, that they listen to the show, right? Like I wouldn't. I mean, people don't. I don't even sell hats. We just give them. I mean, I would never admit to anything, especially doing this show or participating in it. Works in your favor, but you're better off telling people you were dragged here at knife point. It works out better.
Well, That's exactly what happened.
That's exactly what happened.
That must happen to all of your guests.
Yeah.
That's exactly what happened right outside there. But yeah, so I guess someone heard it and they called and they said, let's do a collab. So I have always loved kind of what Springfield, they understand the consumer within the firearm industry. And I love that about them. And so they wanted to really increase the brand through apparel. And we partnered up and we've got a line coming out in March with them.
I was going to say, but which is awesome and amazing and a huge testament to the show. And I appreciate that. And I think Springfield does get a lot of things right now. Unfortunately, just recently they had to deal with that fucktard that sold the gun on Gun Broker. You saw that, right? That whole thing. The whole guy that he did the review. We were talking about the other day.
About it.
Yeah.
I didn't really dig into it.
It was funny because Crispy was in here the other night and Omar's like, listen, that guy's a fucking moron. I'm sorry, Crispy. I said, we all think the same thing because you ruin the good surprise. That's what it is. You ruin it for everybody else. I think Springfield needs to tighten that process up. And that's something, bringing you in and maybe eventually doing more collabs and different things. I think they need to learn, and I think we have to give them a time to adjust that curve.
Well, I mean, I just thought it was really great because the clothes that we're making for them. So obviously partnering with somebody like us, you're partnering with apparel brand who looks very different than every other type of apparel that's currently in the industry. And so they obviously are very forward thinking in that. And I am just incredibly honored that they liked our aesthetic and they liked kind of the audience that we're already reaching and wanted to partner up and do something.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I love that.
Thank you.
I love hearing those stories.
Well, for what it's worth, I think what she's wearing is pretty cool and different than what everybody else is doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's always going to do different, and that's the thing. One of the things that draws me to Amy and to the brand, and which is I can benefit zero from the clothing. In fact, I would look more disgusting in anything that she makes because I just don't fit into it.
Not true. We have men's. We just launched.
Yeah, but I'm like a
line.
fat, weird looking.
John
like,
only wears tracksuits.
Yeah, I only wear
these
track. I
days.
try to hide it. I have to. I need
slimming.
Some guys go with
garments.
flannels. I'm not a flannel guy. I do the jumpsuit. It's the South Boston tuxedo. That's what I go with. I have to have that. I can't. My grandmother used to wear a muumuu. We used to call it the South Boston wedding dress. That was what that was.
Those are back.
They're back.
They're very back.
What I never understood is the draft that comes up. Like, how do you deal with the draft? Like, do you wear underwear? Do you wear bloomers? What? No draft?
We haven't made an Alexo muumuu yet, but if we do, I'll let you know.
I mean, I'm very interested. I've never actually tried the clothing because I feel as if I put it on, I'll never be able to take myself seriously again. I need to put like 4 pairs of Spanx on.
That's what this is. Like we're basically Spanx and Lulu for the gun world is like what Alexo does. We lift you up, we suck you in, and we smooth you out. So and make your butt look really good.
Amy, I get it. I'm just giving you a really good lead in. Take my cues. Okay. I'm just giving you this is called good interviewing. I'm just giving you a good lead in. You're ruining it. Just roll with it. You're right, John. We took that all into consideration.
That's what happens when one host interviews another person that hosts shows.
I'm giving you some of my best work.
You are.
Some of my best leads.
It up, and I'm just I'm foul balling it.
No,
sorry.
No, you're fine. Now, when you go through the process, obviously COVID rewrote how sourcing and everything else is going to be done. How has it been adjusting to that, and how rough has it been getting back to zero? What new normal or new zero is going to look like?
It was actually, I think, a blessing in disguise because it helped us really streamline what products sell really well, what our consumer wants, and we could put a lot of focus on those particular type of items. So for us, I mean, it didn't slow us down really. I mean, it was something that ended up being a really big blessing in disguise.
It works out that way. Like when I started the show, I think it was we did something like over 60 episodes in the first 63 days. I don't know the exact number, might even be more, but we did a lot of episodes rapid fire, and I felt like when everybody was moving to that space and looking at audio, I was like way ahead of everybody. Yep. But we've done it in the past with experiments into the fitness industry and into obviously MMA and other areas that we've tried to branch into. And I look at you a lot like a forerunner in making clothes that actually make sense. Because what do I always say on this show? I always say that the biggest strides we've made are in soft goods in this business. I've been saying it to you for a couple of years. And I think there's a lot that can be made because nobody wants to walk down the street looking like you just retook Omaha Beach.
No,
there's no reason for
it. There was a time and a place for that. And I think there's still some people in the industry that appreciate that, and maybe that's their lifestyle, that's what they identify with. But there is this huge world of consumers.
That's no one's lifestyle. No one should dress like that 24 hours. I get it. We love everybody. But when you're walking around with pants tucked into your boots, you're not exactly supporting the conceal carry community. I can promise you that. They're looking for you. Be a little better than that. We want you to be, what's the term we use? Low visibility.
Low vis.
Low vis.
Low
now,
vis.
that's what your stuff is.
Concealed.
It's concealed. That's absolutely right. You're right. I mean, if I am going to have a firearm, I want to be as inconspicuous as possible. I don't want people to know that I have it on my body. So if you look like you're just the everyday average soccer mom that's, wearing her yoga pants and going to the grocery store, then more than likely people are not expecting you to drop your avocado and pull out your Glock if there happens to be an active shooter there in the grocery store.
We got to quote that.
That
Drop
is
your
pretty
avocado
good.
and pull out your Glock.
Or SIG.
Or Springfield.
Or Springfield.
Or your Hellcat.
It would be better if it was, something else.
It would be.
Hey, there'd be a lot less active shooters in grocery stores if more soccer moms did that.
I agree, and I think reimagining what people wear in a concealed carry, stasis or outside carry, whatever it is, and this goes for everybody. If you go to the range and maybe it's you're competing in a match, maybe it's something that a pair of pants, a shirt that you like. It doesn't necessarily have to cater to the concealed carry, but it really does aid the cause. If you have the right clothing, and a lot of people don't understand this, we're glazing over this. But if you wear the right pants, the right shorts, there are great ones made, great products out there that you can buy and you don't have to look like a moron.
No, that's the funny thing that I really, because my journey into all of this, the first time I was working on a show for the NRA and I went out to the range and I was not a quote unquote gun girl. I didn't own a single pair of tactical pants or anything like that. So I show up to the range and I'm literally wearing
the 5'11" female starter kit.
I did not have that yet.
the 5'11" starter kit.
I apparently did not know that I needed that at the range because I show up in a zip-up hoodie, athletic hoodie, and some, Lulu Align leggings and Ray-Bans, mind you. I didn't even have
but I still wear that.
Glasses
are a big deal to me. I still wear the fashionable shit. I'm not wearing those Jose Canseco 1989 Oakleys that are the size of a window visor.
Well, trust me, I got an earful. I show up, that's what I'm sporting. I got my Ray-Ban. I think I look cute. I'm functional. I'm going to be running and gunning. I'm shooting. Like, why wouldn't I wear athletic clothes? Tennis shoes, like normal tennis shoes.
My feet, my choice.
Yeah, my feet, my choice. That's exactly right. And when I get there, do you think, that they accepted my apparel, or do you think that...
No, they totally were like, honey, come here.
Literally.
There was some guy on the range who's like, come here, honey, I'll show you how to shoot a gun. Meanwhile, he's 900 pounds, meat sweats, and smells like a backyard barbecue.
Pretty much.
But he's gonna tell you how it's gonna go. Like, don't worry, I know self-defense. And in 72, when I was in the NAM, it's
that's how it went. And luckily, I've got thick skin. It didn't bother me. But I was like, gosh, if I'm another woman, this could be very intimidating to some people that don't know the right things to wear. Like, why can't you just show up in what you normally wear and practice like you play?
This industry's full of those types. I just can't even anymore with some of them. Everybody's more this or that. How about this? How about we design shit we like that functions the way we want to?
Which is exactly what we did. And even my husband with the men's line. So he played a huge part in designing the men's stuff because I don't know what you guys want to wear. I know that women want to look thin, that we want our butt to look good and we want to be comfortable. But I don't know if those same things apply to men.
And I met the man. The man looks like he enjoys a meal or two. He seems like a regular guy. He likes a steak and cheese once in a while. Maybe he'll walk around the house barefoot or maybe in his shoes. He don't know.
No, but he said, look, if we're going to do a men's line, it has to be things that I would want to actually wear.
That's how you're going to start. Yeah.
And that's kind of what we did.
Amazing. It's crazy. I watched, I got to talk about this. I watched that special. I don't know if you guys caught it yet. The one on Von Dutch, the hat company. It's fucking crazy. That whole story, that arc of that documentary, of that brand. It's so crazy. And I didn't realize what all went into, because I'm not well versed in soft goods. I mean, it's just not a space I've played in, but it's so crazy. And it's interesting how that world works. And it is so cutthroat. I mean, they were talking about like shootouts in the street. Like, it's crazy.
Oh yeah. No, the manufacturing business, I now understand why when I told people that this is what I wanted to do, they were like, run. Go. If you could do anything else with your life, like just don't be in the apparel industry. And I was like, what? I mean, this could be fun. Like design a line, get some clothes out there. And
crazy.
Yeah, I had no idea. No, we've had our own fair share of like run-ins with really shady people in this industry.
Oh.
Yeah. In this industry, meaning like the manufacturing industry.
Yeah. We'll we'll come back to this. Now, the NRA is an interesting thing. I went by and saw them the other day, and I was kind of like, I know you all hate me, but I did. I talked to Jason for probably an hour. I mean, 45 minutes at least, and we caught up. But he's going to come out here. We're going to go to a fight and all that. But like, I just, I just look around and everybody just looks so tired, and everybody's just like at that breaking point, and that show is fucking dead. I mean, there is not a soul there. They did a great job clearing out the party. I'll tell you that.
I paid money to see you walking in the NRA booth.
Oh, I walked right in with my arms wide open. You seen it. I was like, I know you all hate me. I'm here to make an announcement. Even
if you hate me, I love you.
Jason comes over right away with like one of them like fire blankets. He's like it was hilarious. God. Fuck, I'll tell you a story offline about that.
Should have walked in there wearing an NRA hat.
Some really funny shit. One of the big foam ones this high that you get an $8 membership, you get a hat and a pouch.
I never
We
got
should
the
have just
foam
brought
hat.
in a sign and you could have stood there in front of their booth and said the NRA does not take
Oh my
you
God, I'm
seriously.
gonna piss myself. Don't do that. I
We
just
can
laugh
still
my
do it. There's
balls
still
off.
2 more days. I mean,
Well, there's definitely been a shift over
Oh
there.
my God.
I don't even know the people over there anymore.
Well, Jason we met there. He's
Yeah.
all right.
Okay.
He's over at Isla. He's a good guy. I think he's a great guy. I think he's caught in between and he doesn't know how to play it. To be honest with you, like all those orgs, I mean, look, I love the groups. We need the groups.
We need them.
But the groups, there is and I wanted to get into this with you, and I talked about it with other people. There's just too much of a massive disconnect between the 60 and 70-year-old guys and the 35 and 40-year-old people walking the street right now. They just don't know enough. And they're not paying attention, and they just want to say, oh, Bitcoin doesn't exist. NFTs don't exist. They want to turn a blind eye to it and say, we're going to sell you real estate you don't own to a carnival, and we don't care. We don't want to change. I made some suggestions to them, and I've suggested in the past, the only way they're going to make this business work and make the show work is if they start to tie the show in the upstairs experience into the show. It needs to start to become like, I can go upstairs and see Amy speak. I can see Suresh speak. I can see this one speak or that one. What you would get if you're an employee of a company, your company would get CEs that would contribute towards your booth space being bigger. That's the path. But they have to get speakers that you actually want to fucking see. You can't have Ted Nugent for the 400th time sing Cat Scratch Fever. That is not the gun industry.
I mean, let's be honest. Had the NSSF picked up the phone, called us, and said, hey, guys, can you give a talk on podcasting? Would we have said no?
I wouldn't have said no to Larry.
We wouldn't have said no.
I wouldn't have said no to Larry.
We wouldn't have said no.
I wouldn't have. No, I can't. I can't say what I'm saying and not walk the walk. I wouldn't have said no to Larry, and I wouldn't say no to Jason. He knows that. I said the microphone's here. The last time I talked to both, I tell them all the time. I go, anytime you want to come on. This is like Thunderdome. Come on, baby. But I'm going to ask you the real questions.
They take you up?
Yeah, Jason's been on and Larry's been on, but it's like it's rocky. It's rocky right now because they don't want to answer what I have to say and they don't have a response for it. They always say, we're a grassroots organization, John. And you know what I always say? There's nobody in the grass, Jason. There's nobody there. You're out there in the grass and everybody's in the metaverse.
They could have said that maybe like 50, 60 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, there's a disconnect there. And it's partly because they want to turn a blind eye to it and they want to say, little Bobby Joe has 2 more years of school. I'm just trying to get through this shit, man. Everybody's like strung out. And if you're that strung out, you shouldn't stay at the job. I think there's a lot of people that overstayed their welcome. I think a lot of those organizations are inbred. There's a lot of their cousins and their nephews and the widows and idiot sons working at them. And that's kind of how it is. And it's unfortunate. And that's what we're left with. So we don't have that leadership.
Right.
That we crave. Mm-hmm. So we have to create it ourselves.
Well, and I think there are several upcoming organizations that are...
Like what?
I like what Gun Owners of America
Tell me one person at Gun Owners of America that's actually worked in the firearms business.
Ooh.
Okay.
I'll wait.
Okay. Antonia Okafor. You mean
she worked in the gun business?
You mean like sold guns?
I like Antonia, but she worked in the gun business? So how do you have a fucking gun organization that nobody ever worked in the gun business?
Hey, to be fair, I don't know every single person over there.
They don't.
Maybe.
Trust me.
They don't? Okay.
There's a disconnect in media, Amy, and a disconnect between the top levels and the bottom levels. If you go and you look at Dana Losh, can you show me one picture where Dana shoots a gun? I'll give you $100. Here. You could take it. I'm serious. I'll give you 10 minutes to Google.
Can I look at her Instagram?
Look at her Instagram.
And actually shooting.
Actually shooting a gun. The money's green. I'm buying dinner.
Oh, you gotta give me a second.
Better be a good steak.
I'll put the clock on. But if you're speaking on behalf of gun rights and you're the beacon of gun rights, right? My thing is this, Amy. What
if I produced a video? Do I get a steak dinner?
You can't, because you can't straight up Google it. If you already did that, you buy it. Yeah, you have to like.
I guess that goes against the point of it.
Yeah, it goes against the point of it. The point is,
she carried a gun in my pants.
And that's the problem. And we're in an industry, you guys, where folks like yourself, I take it more personally than you do. Suresh does, certain people. We're in an industry where people like Colion Noir say, I'm a gun enthusiast. What the fuck does that mean? Does that mean if I put a pair of Nikes on, I'm Michael Jordan?
No, but I would say Colion is a gun enthusiast. He's out there.
What gun companies does he work for?
Okay.
Well, none. That's why
none.
he's an enthusiast.
But do you
but I'm
have
saying
to work for the gun
not necessarily.
company?
But if you,
what advantage does working for the gun company give
I'm
you
going
when you're
tell
trying
you,
to influence
if
people?
If you're going to run an organization that's going to speak to not only FFLs or folks, don't you think you should have somebody involved with the process that actually made or sold the things? Just a thought, wouldn't you? Don't tell me you did not consult with people that actually came from the clothing business, because if you do.
Okay, well, that's true. Yeah, I mean, we did.
So there's a lot of that. See, what a lot of it is, and they're not bad people. Everybody listening, they're not bad folks. They're a lot of good folks, she mentioned. But I'm going to tell you right now, the problem with that is there is a disconnect from the top down, and it's a theory I've really thought through. The problem is you have an issue like the Second Amendment, and it gets bastardized. Why? Because at the national media level, when there's a gun rights issue, the first thing they look to is, let's put a Navy SEAL on. I still haven't figured out what that has to do with the Second Amendment. I still haven't figured any of that out yet. I know if a SEAL goes overseas, they have a gun, regardless if we have the Second Amendment here in the United States. So we need to clean up the lines of communication and where it's coming from, because the FFLs, without them, there are no guns. So who's speaking on behalf of the FFLs, and who's leading that charge, and who actually owns an FFL? You could go through the NSSF and look at the entire organization. Find me people that actually own successful gun shops or owned a gun shop. I'd like to see that. And I hope that there is some. I think that there is some. But by and large, the messaging needs to get cleaner and tighter. You can no longer go on these channels and say, you know, it's an Armalite rifle. It's an Armalite rifle. That doesn't win anybody's hearts and mind. If you did that in your business, you'd be out of business, Amy.
Yeah. So I will say, like, I mean, I have gone on multiple times and multiple channels when there's a gun-related issue, and I think when I'm trying to speak to them, I mean, you have like 3 seconds to get your talking points in very quickly. And
in their lanes.
Yes. And there are lanes. And I think that's the important thing. And when I talk, it's usually coming at it from an angle of, you know, women's rights and making sure that you're advocating for the Second Amendment, because women, you know, women started the MeToo movement, but there's a lot of women out there that don't actually want to see a solution to the Me Too movement. And so I think it's a very big opportunity for women in the gun industry to offer a solution. And the only way we can offer a solution is if we have the Second Amendment. And so therefore, like, coming at it, for me, that's how I like to come at this entire issue, is from a women's rights, gun rights or women's rights issue. And that's kind of the lane that I stay in.
You just hit the nail on the head, though. You're coming at the issues the right way. And that's what I'm talking about, is having the right person to speak to the audience you're trying to speak to. When you have a gun rights org, and I like Gun Owners of America, there's a lot of FPC. I have friends there. I mean, I have so many friends at these organizations. I love Antonia. I love Lauren Hill at FPC. There's a lot of good folks that I'm friends with, and you are. And they're great folks. And we have these conversations ad nauseum. They call me all the time. It's not like I'm not in communication with people I love and hate. Yeah. I talk to all of them. The issue is they need to start to clean up who's doing the messaging. You cannot turn these things, these platforms, whether it's running for office or running an org, into, I'm going to do this because it benefits me from social media. We're going to get a stage. We're going to get lights. We're going to do a big thing. But are we really teaching anybody anything? Are we really educating anybody? Are we moving the needle? Are we giving the right message? Is the right person speak to the audience that we want to speak to? I'm not the guy. I host a podcast. I'm okay with that.
But I think that there's multiple ways to come at the issue.
There is.
You almost have to have multiple faces, like you said, staying in your lane and sticking to like your messaging. I mean,
I think some people veer off the path. and they start going a little too far into some areas, not fully understanding.
Sure. I would say that, I see a lot of that. So we work, one up and coming group that I personally like working with is Turning Point, because I like working with the young 2A advocates. First and foremost, because they're super passionate about it, but they don't know a lot about it.
Right.
And there's a lot of education opportunity with these younger kids. Like, they know it, and they're like, well, I mean, we know, like, if we don't have Second Amendment, we don't have First Amendment. But it doesn't really go beyond that, and they're not even exercising their right. And the big thing that I like to talk to these young kids about is, like, if you're gonna be an advocate for it, you sure as hell better be exercising your right. Because let me tell you, if you don't exercise your rights, when someone tries to take away that right that you're not exercising, it's a lot easier for them to take it away from you because you don't care about it. So we need more people actually exercising that right so that they care about when people, when you see it on the news and someone wants to take away your Second Amendment right, you actually get involved in the issue and get involved and say, no, I'm going to stand up for this and not let that happen.
I agree. I agree with that completely. I think you have to do that, and you have to embrace the new, and you have to embrace the new shooters and the people coming in, because it's a huge community and there's a lot of people. And for years, I've been pointing out to the industry the changes that have been coming, whether it was other people coming into the community. The problem sometimes we run into in the gun industry is we beg for the scraps at the end of the table. We don't have to. We don't have to. Yeah. We don't have to beg for scraps. We can have a lot of really good people associated with this industry. Amy, I will never believe in some of these organizations until they understand when you have somebody at the caliber of a Dana White or some of the guests that I've had on sit in front of that wall and talk about that they like owning guns and they like participating in the process. And then you go to these shows and they're like, we have Joe Shit the Ragman speak. It makes no sense.
I'm so glad that you said that, because for so long, like, my background outside of this is in the actual entertainment industry. So, utilizing and winning the culture war when you're actually utilizing quote unquote celebrities, we don't really do that in the gun industry. I can remember 2 years ago that, when
cat scratch fever. That's all we got.
When Glock decided to unveil the new face of Glock, and by no means, am I hating on Chuck Norris, but like, when Chuck Norris is who we are setting ourselves up to say, like, this is the bastion, the best that we can do in the industry to get people excited. I'm like, this is like amping up a group of people, but you are not reaching so many people outside of that.
I'm going to say this. The NSSF had 2 years to prepare for the show. Who was the keynote speaker?
I have no clue.
No clue.
Is there a keynote speaker?
Yeah.
Was there a keynote?
There's two. There was two. But imagine that a multi-million-dollar organization, multi-million dollars, with people like Remington, SIG, writing them checks. You can't go out and get like Bo Jackson to speak. I mean, what's Bo's rate today? You know what I'm saying? Like, think about that for a second. The best you can do is cat scratch fever.
Why didn't they have Chuck speak?
Why not?
I don't know. Where was he?
What?
Was it Nugent?
No. It wasn't him. It was less than him. You never watch. Look it up. You never heard of the people. You never heard of them.
I already just Googled NSSF keynote speaker 2022, and it came up with nothing.
Nothing.
See, I don't even know if they had speakers this year.
They did.
They did?
Insane. 2 years. But you would think, take that out of it. Take that out of it and just say you have 2 years.
Mm-hmm. But like, what about even going through?
I did my homework quicker than that.
But I keep saying, like, why aren't we utilizing like a Chris Pratt? I mean, who is
I don't think Chris would do it. In fairness, we have to see it from both sides. I don't think Chris would do it, but there are a lot of viable options. I agree with you.
Chris's team would let Chris do it. I don't know, Chris. I'm speaking.
But how about this? Let's start with something simple, right? I've had her on the show. How about UFC champion Valentina Shevchenko? Yeah. She's local. She lives in Vegas. She's a world fucking champion. Mm-hmm. She's a very good shooter.
Very outspoken.
Far better shooter than most of us. And she
advocate.
could kill everybody in this room easily. Mm-hmm. She's a super sweetheart. And I know she'd do it in 30 seconds. But imagine that the best we can do is like Joey down the street. Like who? It's on the NSF. It's on their page. But I'm just saying, Amy, it's got to change. It's got to change.
We've been saying
there has to be that change. but it's the companies, it's us, it's you, it's everybody. It's all of us have to say
it a little bit. Like
no,
a
I think,
little bit of a
listen,
change.
I'm the only person that hosts a podcast like this that actually says this shit. Everybody else toes the line and fucking bends over. And I don't. I just say what has to be said until everybody else says, you know what? That fucking kid, that guy's right.
Yeah.
He's actually a kid. I'm too old. That guy's actually right. But you have to start to look at it 360. You have to look at it all the way around. I
totally agree. I mean, when we got into this, I looked at my husband and I was like, we're going after a totally different demographic, and we may not even have the support of the NRA. We may not have like these groups that are actually supporting us or recognizing or knowing what we're doing, and that's completely okay. And I'm not hating on them for that. It's just somebody else has to do it. You've got to put the blood, sweat, and tears and your own finances. Like in our case, like we put our own money where our mouth is, and we said, look, we're gonna do this to go carve out this industry. And if you put the work in and prove that the market is there, well, then people come knocking on your doors. But at that point, you get to pick and choose like who you want to work with.
I agree. Gutsy just said this. Gutsy 76. I think a lot of people are intimidated by you, John. With lots of people in the industry know you would expose them. It's not about exposing them. This isn't fucking hard copy. But it's more like it's not. But this is I know what he's saying. This is more about like common sense. You know what I mean? The things I say are what I think are very common sense table issues that just have to be dealt with. Like if I'm sitting in those rooms, if you're sitting in your kitchen working on a marketing plan for your brand and you're looking at it and you have 2 years to prepare, you gotta look like you put an effort into it.
Yeah.
You gotta look like you put an effort into it. The problem is everybody's cousin works at these groups, everybody's aunt, everybody's, my sister needs a gig, we'll put her there. That's what happens. They become like dumping grounds.
Well, look who's still showing up at the booths and to draw the crowds, like who they're using to draw the crowds. It's the competition. It's competition shooters. It's their team. And I'm like, which is great, but if I was and again, this is an industry show, so this is a little unfair, being a shop show, it's a little unfair because it is an industry show. But if you took that outside, the people that are like, let's say they're wearing Alexo Athletica, they've probably never heard of any of these competition shooters who are showing up. So who would draw the crowds there? Who's drawing these everyday average gun owners, these newbies in the industry, to want to learn more, to actually want to go get training, who's the resource for them to go to? There's like so many missing pieces of people that are trying to reach all these new gun owners. Pro
shooting is going to be a hard one for a while. It's going to be, especially like that inwardly facing piece of the industry that's really tight knit. It is. It's a very small community. We see them walk around the show with their shirts on. And when we're at SHOT Show, everybody's a pro shooter. Like I'm going to get a jersey next year. It's going to say no one. It's going to say no one on it. But they walk around. I kind of find it funny when they're like at dinner with the shirt. I'm like, I don't even know what that means. But I get it. And that's what that side of the industry is. And they're great folks. I've had all of them on the show. I love them. JJ, Max, everybody. They're all friends and colleagues. Lena.
Yeah, Gabby.
All of them. You love them. That they have been done an extreme disservice. In a lot of those groups that they're a part of, whether it's IDPA, IPSC, any of them, they need to take a hard look inside and understand how they're marketing that. And that's not going to happen anytime soon because everybody associated with those orgs is 100 and they don't want to change and they won't change. And I know JJ, Max, Doug, I've talked to all of them. They've all tried to have those conversations. That's a hard one to unravel. Well, and I feel bad for pro shooters.
I look at it too, because we're deeply involved in the influencer world, right? So we know like once influencers start aligning themselves with gun companies, they set themselves up very quickly to not be able to get funding from other companies, right? So I actually think there's a really big opportunity with companies that aren't necessarily, let's call them gun companies, but they're companies outside of who still align with the Second Amendment and believe it's important. Like we need those companies too stepping up and saying, look, let me throw my skincare product at Di and Gabby and give them other opportunities.
Amy, I'm trying here. The problem is every time I bring a new group in, whether it's from fitness or fighting, the institutional guys, the guys walking around with their pants tucked into their boots, they're like, oh, we don't want them. There's too many gatekeepers. There's too many people trying to say like, you're in, you're out. Yeah, how many people did you kill this month? We'll take you. Like, there's too much of that.
There is. And so maybe the answer isn't like necessarily changing the gun industry, but maybe it's like helping to set up people that want to still have an impact for the Second Amendment or for the industry, but they're doing it through other avenues.
Yes.
You know, you've got people, I think you met her last night, Emily from Style Me Tactical, who is doing a fantastic job with,
she's a sweetheart.
with her fashion blog. Her blog is fantastic, but she walks this weird line of when you align yourself and you put a firearm in a photo, you suddenly like can't get sponsored from people outside of the gun industry. But then the people in the gun industry don't understand her, so they're not even willing to like pay her for her amazing content when she should be making a ton of money because her content.
Well, part of that is because writing's compromised. That's the problem, Amy. The writers that have dominated this industry they were all in here a couple days ago. I had all the outdoor writers, all the guys. They were at the party. I saw all the guys, Ace, everybody. And I say it to Ace's face. They're compromised. You give them a free box of ammo and you own them.
Yep.
And that's the problem. Hey, I'll send you a bag of clothes. That's part of the fucking problem is all of them have become like weird reptilian people.
Yeah.
I can't imagine the amount of sponsors this show has and the amount of people I've had on this show. Do you know that there's not been one article written about this show yet? Zero.
What?
Zero.
Well,
none.
Good thing you were busting out 60 shows in 63 days to
Zero. Zero.
Your best advertising.
Yeah, and I don't begrudge the industry for that. I don't care, but if you haven't addressed podcasting in Recoil or Skill Set or any of those spaces, what the fuck are you doing?
I thought somebody called you a mover and a shaker once, or like the most interesting man in the firearms industry.
Ooh.
Well, I have been.
Was that your Gundy nominee?
No, I've never been nominated for a Gundy, as far as I know. I've never participated in that. Not because I don't like those. I love those guys. Will, Ben, I saw them last night. I love those guys. I think they do great work. I think it's like we said earlier. I think it speaks to a different segment. I think it's a different segment of the industry, and I'm fine with that. You know, I think they have their good little nucleus. We've talked about it. I think what Ben and Will are doing is great. I think the Forge piece is great. And I think that they're in a good space. They may have to tweak a few things we talked about. I've told them, not giving away their batter, but like they have a lot of good shit going on. And I think that segment does need a place because you have pro shooters, you have young shooters, and then you have enthusiasts. And that's really an enthusiast. That's what I think. It's an enthusiast space. Yeah. And that's fine. I mean, I think they should have that.
The more we have cool products and make it a part of their lifestyle where you don't have to be the tactical Tommies. That's where I think we're going to win with the younger shooters. And that's what we're pumping a lot of our time into is going after these younger people that are getting into the firearms. I will tell you, I am the person trying to break your theory. I'm trying to get other companies in to sponsor the show, whether it's Howler Head for booze, whether it's straight up gun manufacturers, clothing brands, some of the brands that we have associated with this show and we've had associated with this show. I know Tony Sentman out Real World Tactical has been a big part of that. He brought in a lot of fitness companies when that was something that was, not taboo, but like people looked at him originally and were like, what the fuck is this guy doing? But it made a lot of sense to me because I said for years, the gun, people have to understand, this is why I get so mad. When Tucker Carlson says, I'm going to be gun industry, they think gun industry is like, I'm going to have Hickok 45 on. That's what they think gun industry is. And I'm going to have, Jerry's definitely gun industry, especially when he starts telling stories. But, I think we put people in an environment that they're comfortable in. Okay, we're going to go to the range. We're going to shoot some guns. That's not representing the gun industry. I want to see Tucker walk in the manufacturing floors. I want to see him talking to some of the leaders in the business, getting their thoughts. That's my big issue. Oh, he's soaring. We got construction going on in the back. I thought somebody's music was playing. I thought it was a phone. Break. But I think that there's an opening, and I think that there's a lot of room to explore, and we haven't even scratched the surface yet. Not even a little. Yeah. And we have a long way to go. And I think that we beg for the scraps at the end of the table when we don't have to. Yeah. We don't have to. What is it for the NRA to come over or the NSSF and say, John, we're going to take our ego out of it. You have a picture of Dana White in front of a gun wall. We want that picture. We would love to talk to him, or we'd love to do this. They don't care, Amy. They don't care.
That would have been gold, too.
But that blows my mind.
They don't care. They're content to fail. They're like, I'm right, you're wrong. That's all you're dealing with.
I mean, I guess it just comes down to, what is their end goal? Because if they can't really even articulate anymore really what they want. It used to be get more members. Eventually if you stop getting members, all of the members that you have will eventually die.
I agree.
If you're not putting any new marketing tactics in place to get new membership, then what are you doing? And someone like a Dana White would be perfect, I would think, if he would put his name on an NRA endorsement, that would drive some membership.
I promise you that they don't care. I promise.
They just don't see the value.
They just don't see the value. They don't see the value in an NFT. And I think I'm serious. And I think I think that they're making very costly. I think a lot of these orgs, a lot of them even you named, they're making very costly mistakes. And I think a lot of those mistakes are going to cost them later on. And I think you're going to see other organizations pop up. In fact, I was on a text with an undisclosed person earlier. I think some stuff is going to change. And I think you're going to see other orgs come in and show viability. I had a lot of hope for Gun Owners of America and FPC. I see them going back down that rabbit hole of like, we're going to be a promotional, like we're going to do like these stage shows and we're going to put like Dan Crenshaw up there and somebody else. And that's the gun industry.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is.
Well,
I don't have an idea.
I like Gun Owners of America from what they're doing from a legislative standpoint, where they're being extremely informative and pushing people to get involved in the legislative side of things, because there's a lot of stuff that I would have to really go search through the NRA. I know they've got it on the ILA side. I know there's segments of the NRA that I could go and search for, but I feel like Gun Owners of America does a good job of making it really easy and accessible and digestible to say, like, this is what is actually going on, right? This is what's about to get passed in our Congress. This is about what's about to get passed in our Senate. And if you don't get involved with it, like they do a good job of calling to action. And so I like that. So maybe that's their lane. Maybe. Maybe that's what they're doing. But I'm dying to know, you said Dana White a couple of times now, but like, your top 5.
I just use it as
your top
insert
5
famous
celebrities. Who would you say, like, if I could pick to do or rep something in the gun industry that's not in the gun industry, who would it be?
Oh my God, there's endless. Pick every UFC fighter I've had on. Start there.
Would they do it with their management team and their agents?
Ask these guys here. 100%.
Yep.
100%. I'm gonna tell this story because it needs to be said. I don't want to, and she's gonna know why after, but I'm gonna tell this story. I borderline lost a friendship over this. I called someone we both know. I don't want to get into names. I called someone we both know, and I told them, I said, I have Valentina Shevchenko. She wants to talk to somebody at Glock. They told me they don't care. Somebody wouldn't even pick up the phone and call her. Imagine offering that phone number and somebody doesn't even want to talk to them. That's insane.
That is insane.
That's insane. And it's a certain person I'm very, very close with and I love. And that's literally the answer I got back.
Well, I'm gonna
not that particular person. I'll tell you.
Well, I have to say that's what's been so enjoyable about this process with Springfield. They are incredibly open to our ambassadors, our influencers. They want to learn. They want to utilize who we're utilizing, which are definitely not people that are in the firearm space. And so
that's because there's women there, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, women make 50 times better. They make so women are great in leadership roles, especially, and I'm not.
Yeah, it's a woman spearheading this whole product.
I know where you're going.
Yeah, I'm
going to tell you why. When men get into like middle management, which is where kind of a marketing director sits, it's too much power. They all become the guy that has too much juice. We've all had that guy, or like he has a little too much say, and they start to their ego gets in the way. I always like to say our dicks get in the way, but their ego gets in the way and makes judgment calls or makes decisions. And you need to have someone in that role that kind of looks at it like 360 degrees. Like, let me see the whole field. Let's look at everything. Why close myself off? I'm a huge believer in that. I think guys, because here's the thing. Why do women succeed on social media? Because more men are likely to say, you know what, hey, I like that woman's picture. A man to like another man's picture, they're laughing because they know that no guy will ever say, like, that's a cool dude. Like, I want to hang out with him. For some reason, like, our dicks get in the way of making that decision. Like, I think that dude's cool. We get better with it with age and as time goes on and we mature and we understand the path of least resistance is the best path to get what we want and not be that way. Now, I've never learned that lesson, but when you look at the marketplace, women succeed in social media because you have more men willing to say, she's cool, I like her, I'm going to follow her, I'm going to participate in following her journey or who she is. And, you know, I think that gets, there's a clever kind of like a misconception in the industry that like we're always so supportive of each other. No, our circles are. We do a good job building out our circles.
Okay, that is so true. And I'm going to throw in some 2 cents here with that.
Oh, give me the whole dollar.
Well, because look, the women find them. Okay, women. If we're going to talk about women gun influencers or people that do gun stuff on social media and Instagram here.
There we go.
You know, like there's a big difference between, to me, a woman gun influencer who is moving the needle in the women's side in the women industry because of what you just talked about. Like, it kind of is a double-edged sword because you've got women who are like, ooh, I can get a lot of guy likes by just like throwing up a gun picture and, you know,
taking my clothes off.
Yeah. And, you know, great. That works. But like, what is that doing for the industry? What is that actually doing for those gun bunnies? What is it really doing?
The gift that keeps on giving. That's it.
We know some of those gun bunnies, but we also know some of those
modeling's a big career now.
Females that are actually pushing the industry forward.
Yeah.
And there's a fine line, because then you've got like women that don't want to support those women, and they don't want what that person's selling it, you know? So, I mean, like, you have to be creative. It is not. But
I say it all the time, Amy, it's our fault. It's our fault we're where we are. It's our fault because nobody steps up. Like I said, when you have that type of situation, people, like you said, they don't want to put anything on the line anymore. Nobody wants to say, you know, hey, no, we need to look at this. Nobody wants. And you know, you like the movie World War Z, you know, when the guy says, I am the 12th man. And he's like, so you're the guy who disagreed. He's like, precisely. You know, and he's like, I said, put a wall up. And they have an obligation to listen to him. There's a lot of that. Like, I think you have to have dissenting opinions, and you have to have somebody. That's why when I started this show and I wanted it to be raw, I wanted it to be real. This wasn't meant to be. I saw way too many cheesy gun reviewers out there. I saw way too many cheesy blogs out there and stuff that, like, I was like, there's some guys doing it right that I really like. Yeah. There's a lot of those. But then I talk to a lot of these guys behind the scenes. They're not making any money. Or if they are, it's like one video to the next. They're like chasing it. And I know you know these people. Yep. And they're not understanding. It cannot always be about banging you over the head with something. It has to be a conversation. And in a conversation, you're going to have dialogue. There's going to have ideas. There's going to be a trading of, you know, how I feel about this. And you have to take that all into account and then come up with a solution to get to the next place. Yeah, whatever that is.
Well, but there's got to be enough people, I think, within the industry that want to see change. And I mean, I feel like there are, because I talk to a lot of people.
I think that there are. I think we have the people. I think we have the foot soldiers. I think the bodies are there. But they got to start chirping. Whether it's on podcasts, whether it's writing, you know, whatever it is. And they have to move beyond some of the old stigmas and some of the old faces in the industry. I understand legacy faces. I get that. There's a place for that. It's called the Hall of Fame. They should be there. There's a lot of great faces that should be around the industry, and everyone should do their part. But as you see, social media, podcasting, vlogging, video streaming. I mean, the fact that no one in this building right now can name for me one gun organization that has a stream has to be a little terrifying. Has to be. The fact that can anyone in this room tell me if one of those orgs has a podcast? And how hard is a podcast today?
That's a great.
Now, gun companies, because of things, you know, this show thing, you know, gun companies are starting to get into the space and they're starting to look at it. But when you don't even value putting your own messaging out there, I'm concerned. What is it you don't want to talk about, and why? And why don't you want to approach the dialogue? Anyone who comes on the show is willing to talk about it.
Yeah, that's a great question. And I don't know. It's been something I've thought about ever since I got into it. So I don't know if you knew this. What got me into the gun industry was hosting a show with Colion Noir. Yeah. And so when I worked for the NRA, I remember when I went into audition, I didn't know what I was auditioning for. They didn't tell me who the company was, what the show was, nothing. Go in, didn't even know who Colion was. You think I've ever watched a gun review video? No idea. I thought he was joking. I thought he made up his name. So, you know, we're going back and forth. And at the end of all this, they take me back there and they're like, well, you know, I was like, what is this show? Who is this for? What in the world are you trying to do here? I've never seen anything like this. And they're like,
nobody knows what they're doing.
This is for the NRA. And I was like, you gotta be kidding me. Like the thing my dad and my granddad do.
Yeah.
Like, why did you bring me in here? I am not doing anything because the idea around it. I am the perfect person. I have always been a Second Amendment supporter. I would have never considered myself a gun girl.
Right.
Or in the gun industry. But yet I have guns. I want to use them for personal protection, but nobody was speaking to me. And I'm glad I took the job. I'm glad I did it because I saw the void. And that's why I wanted to make such a big shift and a big change and say, you know what? I am going to speak to more of the women that are like me and more of the people that are like me that I know are out there. And there's just something that's missing.
The problem we keep running into is there's gatekeepers. And you asked a good question earlier. You said how many of them, the high profile guests that you've had on the show, and I want to come back to that said they would participate or would do something. And like you said, you were a fresh face. A lot of them would. You did. You're living proof of that. You did it. You took the chance and you said, I'm going to participate. How do we know if we never ask or we're never willing to return the phone call?
You don't.
And how many shots do you hit if you never take a shot? How many points do you score? Zero. So, to me, like, this isn't like, we're not doing long division here. Like, this isn't hard. And I think what goes on in this industry, because this all goes back to the reason the NRA used to identify as a dusty, when I say NRA, the whole gun industry, it was a dusty buckle and boot industry. It was an industry where you had the guy who bought the 1911 and stuck it in his pants, and that was the industry. And he bought a pair of boots and he got fat and told stories.
Yep.
That's this industry. It's built on that. And a lot of it is gun collectors that are enthusiasts. Now you're seeing a lot more athleticism come in. Yep. People are competing. That's
personal protection.
It's moved on. It's blown up. We're getting to like what I would call like the second renaissance of the industry. We're getting to that point. And I think once we get rid of some of these baby boomers that are running the companies and running the brands and running everything, because that is the worst generation that ever happened in this country. They're sinking us. They're killing us. They never fought in a war. Mommy and daddy gave them all their money, and they're just kind of like, hey, I got a good job, and who cares? There's no emotional investment into anything.
I think they get very complacent. They love the status quo. And look, for so long, the people in the gun industry itself hasn't had to go out and get new people to come in. They have been able to rely on what's going on in society, what's going on politically, what's going on in the world, to drive their sales. Yeah. So think about it from a business standpoint. Like, why would you take the risk on some new people if, these 4 million people are going to go buy guns anyways, and I didn't have to do anything about it? I mean, you can kind of see why that seems like a very enticing way to do business.
Keep telling your story. I want to share your show right now on Instagram if anyone's not tuning in, but don't think I'm ignoring you. I have to do this. This is too good. We're talking about really good stuff here. Now, I don't know how to write it. I don't know the right path to get on. If you think of one, I'm interested in hearing it. I don't know exactly how to get it right. Do you have any ideas?
On what the industry needs to do?
Yeah. How do we right the ship now?
I think that there needs to be more people standing up and stepping up that do live the lifestyle, that do like this industry, that aren't afraid to just start being a voice and start speaking up. It's not hard to put, I'm a Second Amendment advocate, or I can still carry, in your social media platform. Anybody can start doing that. Anybody can start being a voice. Sometimes I think they see these people that start to get a lot of followers and they've got big platforms on YouTube or something else. So they think, well, what is me speaking up really going to do?
They're too interested in putting like him, her, it.
Right. Now there are some of that, but you know what? There are millions and millions and millions of people out there that believe like you and I believe, and they just need to start stepping up.
We just do a terrible job controlling the narrative and understanding the right messaging, and it comes back to what we were discussing in the beginning. I think the people are all wrong for the conversation. I think there's a disconnect in who should be doing the talking. I am in no way advocating that it be I am not, because this is more like, I like having a conversation with people. You know, it's not my bag. You have a much more deft touch. There's other people that do, and believe me, I'm 100% in agreement that it's those folks. I'll be in the back eating a cheese sandwich. I'm happy with that. People know that. I got my show. I'm happy. I got what I like. But I think that there has to be those fresh faces coming in, like you're talking about, in that renaissance. But there's just too much of a disconnect in the generation that's in charge right now. I mean, look no further than politics. Nancy Pelosi, Chuck Schumer. These people are 100, Amy, and they don't want to leave.
On both sides, Republican and Democrat, yes.
They don't want. It's not just one, but they don't want to leave. I'm absolutely 100% in favor of term limits at this point. I think it has to be put in place. I think there's no way you can avoid it.
But aren't the people that are voting on term limits the ones that? I mean,
that's
they're the ones that don't have the term limits. They're not going to vote for their own term limits.
You can easily make it without a problem. You can make the U.S. House of Representatives like a 4-term thing. You can, because you have to make it even. If you can have 8 years as a governor or as a president, somewhere around not year 9. So maybe it's 2, 4, 6, 8. You're gonna have to do 10. So call 5 terms in Congress, and then you get the option to maybe be a senator for 2 terms. Something like the presidency, and you move on with your fucking life. And then you can't
get rich as a politician.
You can't sit there like Nancy Pelosi for the next 100 years and turn into fucking some reptile creature who's 100. And they're absolutely right. Like Tucker, I know, did that funny spoof with calling her Michael Jackson. I got to tell you, he's not wrong. It's insane. It's like, how is this still going on? And it's a very common thing. It's a very common thing, and it's not going to stop. People stay in power too long. They overstay their welcome, and it erodes at the end. Yeah. And that's the problem. We see that with a lot of these orgs. But I hope they get it right. And I hope they figure it out.
For the future of the industry, because there's so much innovation that can be done, and there's so many things that we can see a lot of improvements, and we can get more people into the fold, because I really believe that if people started to understand the importance of the Second Amendment and how it actually applies in their life and protecting their freedoms and everything else, I think it would start actually getting people more involved on the political side to look at both sides. Which Republicans really actually want to protect my Second Amendment right? Which Democrats really want to protect my Second Amendment rights? And you know what? If they don't, then I really am not going to be inclined to vote for them.
I was saying it earlier to the guy I had on. The thing is, they're going to have to rethink their model the next time they throw this at us, because they kind of got some calculations off. I don't think they factored in how many people would go out and buy guns on the left or right. Yeah. I don't think that was factored in. And now, if you notice, like after the Chipman thing, you don't hear about the ATF anymore. Yep. Why? Because they don't know where the voters are. They don't know who bought what. They know a lot of people in the blue did. And I would liken the gun issue at this point very similar to what Roe v. Wade is. I think there's a lot of pro-choice Republicans out there under certain circumstances, and there's a lot of blue gun owners now.
Of course there are.
Tons.
But that's just the thing. The Second Amendment isn't a Republican issue.
It shouldn't be politicized. It shouldn't be.
It's for all of us.
But it is, and the reality is, in talking about it in that construct, you have to look at it as, at the end of the day, how they're going to judge it. And they're going to judge it by what segment is this? Because that's what they want to do. They want to secularize it.
Well, look, one of the things that was very important to us when we started Alexo was to do just that, was to make sure that we knew, look, it doesn't matter if you're vote blue, vote red, don't vote at all. Like, you as a woman, so we started out with women's clothes. Like, you want to look good, feel good, and have clothes that are functional in your life. That's it. That's easy. But guess what? We just made it conducive to any self-defense tool. We don't just push everyone's got to carry a firearm.
Right.
You know what? Because if you are going to carry a firearm, well, we push that you need your training. You need to be safe, responsible gun owners. And not everyone's up for that task. Not everyone is up for that yet. So we just want people to understand, first and foremost, that they have a personal responsibility to take care of themselves in all areas of their life, and then make products that are cool and good looking. And I was already wearing leggings every day. I was already wearing active wear. So I didn't have to change anything in my life to get into this lifestyle. I let this fit into my lifestyle. And I think we need more products like that are like, make it very easy to fit the firearm into people's lifestyle if we want them to get into the lifestyle. I'm
glad you said that. I'm going to have a long conversation with the other half. I think we need some running suits. You know, we need some jogging suits. I'm really into
like
jogging.
A onesie, like
I need
like
comfort clothes. I need men's comfort clothes. I want to walk out and I want to feel like I'm dripping in sheep. You know, like I want to have like the most comfort.
You want a Sherpa?
A Sherpa. That's what I'm looking for. A Sherpa.
I think some men's comfort can still carry clothes.
Yeah,
Well,
I want to. This is what we're gonna call it. Like, you remember, what was it? The Rodney Dangerfield movie. No one's seen it. It's called Easy Money. But he goes. I want the regular guy look, and it's like big pants, big shirts, you know, baggy. I want the, you know, yeah, we need that.
Yeah.
Well, guess what?
We want to take care of everyone.
March,
Yeah,
you got the regular guy, like, and that's what we really tried to do with the Springfield line and the men, especially like for the men, because we just launched the men's line. Alexa just launched men, but just with shorts and with joggers. But we're able to expand to much more comfortable options with the Springfield line. So I think you might really like it. I know you said you don't like flannel shirts, but maybe you could give this flannel shirt a try.
Give it a try.
It's a stretch flannel.
Yeah, and then there's
Stretchy. It's like
you like that. You just got excited about it. You're like, whoa,
Stretch.
You
a little
like it.
extra
It's a
room.
little stretch flannel.
Whoa.
Well, I wear the stretch jeans all the time, so a stretchy flannel.
And a stretchy flannel. Yeah.
You like Dixon's? Are they Dixon level?
But Dixon doesn't have stretchy.
No, they don't.
No,
There's
it's like,
not.
yeah.
It's a new fabric. So
I love Danny, but it's like, yeah,
Danny doesn't like size fat.
No. He's like, yeah.
we're
He's
all about
in
comfort.
shape now.
Alexo is all about comfort. That's the entire like foundation of our comfort of our company. It was like, it's got to be comfortable. It's got to be simple.
It's got to make sense.
It's got to make sense. Yeah.
That's what we try to do here. That's why we ask the hard-hitting questions in this room. That's why we go at you. You have to look at this whole thing and ask yourself, you know, how does this play out? You know, do you think does the show survive, and where does this all go, and what does the next 2 years look like for us?
That's a really great question. I think it's going to be different. I mean, this show in general scaled back a whole lot, and I think people unfortunately are realizing that we may not actually need the trade show to get a lot of business done. And you know what COVID showed us was we can get face. So this used to be where we came to get our FaceTime.
Yeah,
we would get face to face. But you know what? With all these Zoom meetings now being the norm, I can FaceTime people that I wouldn't see until January. I can call them up and see them face to face anytime I want to now. So I don't know where the industry goes. I obviously I want the NSSF to survive and I want them to keep going. But I don't know how relevant SHOT Show is going to be in the future.
Yeah,
maybe for large companies, but you know what? Small and medium-sized companies seem to be benefiting a lot from this show this year.
Yeah, I think there is a space for the show, but I think the scaling of the show needs to shift, and there needs to be a slight change in how they scale it. I think they need to take a hard look at upstairs, like I said, some of the speaking stuff and everything else, and pull in more of an interactive experience. It needs to be experiential. Like when I walk in that show, it's like there's a cardboard banner that says like trade show.
I mean,
you know what I mean? Like I'm sitting there, I'm looking at it, I'm like, you just wrote $1 million check, like you're Smith and Wesson. You're like, what? Like,
I mean, the bigger brands like SIG is a perfect example of this year. They didn't even need to come to SHOT Show. Everybody knows who they are, what products they have, what they're carrying, and then just like this week, they put out a couple emails about the Spear. Now everybody knows because everybody's on that email list.
Oh, and they'll do an experience.
They didn't even have to.
They're doing their own closed experience, and once they do that, Amy and I, we were talking about this that night. It'll change the game. Everybody, because you're gonna have people that are come out of that and be like, because you know they're gonna overdo it. People are gonna be leaving, you know, with all kinds of goodies. It's gonna be one of those things that you know. I think they'll have myself, probably Jack Carr, maybe even doing shows. Who knows? Lena, you know, it'll be a whole different. And I think everybody after that's gonna be like,
well, we'll do that too.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I mean, if you think about it, they could do their own thing just purely based upon the fact of all the manufacturers that they're working with now for, like, say, the P320 program. And, you know, for everything they're doing with that.
And they can spend the money doing, you know, their own range days throughout the year where they're actually pumping money in on, you know, everyone in the media is already going to know what they're doing. Everyone in the industry is already going to know. But SHOT Show doesn't help get the word out necessarily to people who aren't kind of involved in the industry. But what they can do with these other range days and spend just as much money doing that is actually pull in the new guard, bring in the new influencers, get the word to the consumer and get it out there to people who would never read, you know, a Recoil or a Truth About Guns or, you know, like these avenues that traditionally speak to really heavy enthusiasts, they can spend money and get the new influencers in there to get the word out.
Right. I agree. I agree with that.
And think about this too, like new gun owners, most of them don't know what they're looking for, right? So who are they going to when someone says like, okay, gosh, I want to buy a gun, but who? If my favorite blogger were to say, I just bought a SIG P365 or a Springfield Hellcat, guess what I'm going to go buy at the store because I don't know any different. I'm going to go buy I'm going to test out and shoot the Hellcat, and I'm going to go purchase it because that's what somebody told me to buy.
We actually call it the Hell Kitty around
here. The Hell Kitty.
Oh, the Hell Kitty.
The Hell Kitty. They sent me one of those. They never sent me the rifle. Those sons of...
I love the Hellcat. You ever carry it?
Oh, no. I got rid of it.
For quite a while.
No. I don't like some of the functions on it, even though I thought it was well thought out and well designed. And, I think Springfield was one of those companies that just was on the right path. And I remember mentioning that to you, and it led to a beautiful relationship with them. And I think that, Springfield's close. I would say behind, the question I was going to ask you is that behind SIG or who's next to really get it. I think they're right there.
Agreed.
I think they're right there. There's someone still working there deep in the caves of Springfield that probably needs to go. That's, you know what I mean? That like will just flick it over the top. There's probably like one or two people in that media department that are pure cancer. I'm sure when I share this on LinkedIn, somebody will listen to it and be like, yeah, that guy's right over there. But I think that's part of it. And I think they will get there because it seems like the team's solid and they're starting to get it.
They're solid, yeah.
And at the end of the day, once SIG does what they do, everybody's going to look at that. But I think Springfield's the best suited to say, make the next leap. Now, the next evolution, I think, is going to be eventually the companies are going to set their ego aside and they're going to start to understand Fox News doesn't exist without Tucker Carlson, Laura Ingraham, and everything else. And they're going to start to incorporate those personalities more, just like SIG has over the years, into their structure. And they're going to say, hey, John, we want the show. We want to put it on air. How do we buy the whole thing? Because, we're seeing that type of M&A activity, that type of activity in the marketplace because people want content. Content is the currency. Content is what's traded. And when you're putting out thousands of pieces of content, companies cannot compete with that. We did 105 episodes, Amy, last year, and we did probably 3,000 pieces of content. I promise you there is not another company in the gun industry that can put out that much content.
No, because they don't have the time and they don't
know where to do it.
You have to prove. Kind of like what Alexo did. Like we proved the market's there. Every single person has said, I want to go after women. How do we do it? We don't have the time to actually go do it. And so you prove it, you carve out the market and you do it. And then you've got something that, if you want to sell the company eventually or someone wants to buy it and say, look, you're already doing what we didn't really have the time to go do or the interest to go do, then you make yourself
the big thing
in a good position in the market.
The struggle is with you mentioned the medium-sized and small-sized companies, is they're starting to understand that you have to, when you sell a company, you have to have a media element with it because that's part of the sale process. They're like, okay, what's your advertising? What's your marketing look like? And I'm dealing with some M&A stuff right now, so I know that these conversations are happening, and they're happening on a macro level where it's like, no, like we want to know like what influencers you're working with, how are you built out? Obviously Nike is worth a lot more with Michael Jordan attached to it. The Patriots are worth more with Tom Brady attached to it. So that once companies start to figure that out, I think the next layer is going to be looking at those things. Because I came out and said it early on this show when all this was going down. I told one of my friends at SIG, I said, the smart company is going to be the one that sets up a paywall because paywalls are coming, sets up a paywall and goes and buys Cops, the rights to Cops, because Cops got taken off the radio. I said, somebody should go buy Cops right now. And who ended up buying it? Fox. I don't know if they listened to the show, but I've been saying it for 3 years. Wow. Made sense to me.
Everybody loves that show.
That's
because why does Netflix go and buy Friends? Because it brings an audience to it. Why are they willing to pay $100 million for 1 year of Friends? For the licensing to it. So that's coming. It's coming fast. A lot of companies and brands will say, we want to be in the business of Jack Carr or this. We want to be in that business. And they're going to start to bring it in. And it's going to do this. Right now, it's the Wild West. They're just trying to get in the game. And that's why you see, like, I'll walk by booths to be like, hey, we can do this. We want to do something. Let's do something. That's what everybody says. I love that. Let's do something. Let's do the something. So I don't want to go long. We got to wrap up.
I love this, though.
I know. It's been
1 hour, right? This.
Yeah, we're at 1 hour.
Already?
Over.
We're over.
Oh, that went really fast.
I know. Will you guys come back out?
Yes. I told you. We've been trying to do this for a year, but I kept having babies.
We can do a long deal.
Yeah,
I'd like to do it a little bit longer. Get some time, and we got
to get him on too. We got to talk to him.
Now that we're coming out, wait, we can't get
He's not just the pretty face.
We're not ready for the regular guy look. We're tweaking it. The next one, we're gonna do it.
We'll let him on if he brings stretchy flannel.
Oh. Amy, let everyone know where they can find you, how they can reach you, and how they can get to the brand.
Absolutely. You can check us out at alexoathletica.com. You can find us on Instagram at Alexo Athletica and Facebook as well.
And I got to be honest with everybody. Amy is probably one of 3 people, maybe 2, that could have approached me at Shot and said, I want to fucking do a show. And I would have said yes. So
it's basically what you did. I can't believe you have been going since, I think you texted me like 5 a.m. this morning. I'm like, why in the world is he awake?
I was in here
in the morning. It's Shot Show. I'm not awake yet, but I could not believe that you got me on the show. So thank you, because I love coming on here.
No, I appreciate it. It means a lot. And I know you're one of the good voices out there. And I consider you a friend.
Thank you. You too.
I do. I consider you a friend, and I appreciate you. And I love you both for taking the time and coming out. I mean it.
We appreciate you.
Time
thank
is
you.
the best thing. I want to thank all the sponsors. Go check out all Amy's stuff. Everything's listed in there for Alexo Athletica. There's all the links, guys. I know Eric's been sharing them. Shout out to everyone in the chat. Appreciate all you guys. Thanks for listening. Go check out the brand. There is regular guy stuff coming. Stay tuned. And I'm looking forward to it. Now, all the sponsors are listed on the website, listed down below. Go support them. We shouted out a lot of them during the show. Special thanks to all of them. Please, thank you. Everybody going to SHOT Show. Have a fun time. We're out.